Hello there, apologies everyone for the delay. We are live with WWE Smackdown. Tonight is the big one, it's the season premiere, it's the return of Roman Reigns. It is John Cena who's now making his way down to the ring. It's Triple H's big announcement. It's just a big time for wrestling in general. There are talks of Nick Aldis debuting as a general manager via PW Insider. There is talks of Kevin Owens debuting as the newest member of SmackDown, even though he has a long and checkered history with SmackDown. It's just one of those days where there's just a lot happening. And when it comes to shows where there's a lot happening, it tends to be they're the shows that are the most satisfying. So, we are live, we are watching, and we'll be breaking down all of the action of tonight's WWE Smackdown. Had a few issues getting on to start with. BT Sport has now officially closed its doors, and it's moved everyone over to Discovery Plus accounts. I'm still waiting for a confirmation email, but we'll make it work in some way, shape or form. Somehow. Magic, I'd imagine. We'll make it work. So welcome everyone. We are opening with John Cena and recaps from WWE Fastlane, a moderate pay-per-view. It was entertaining enough. I can't sit here and say it's the best thing that we've ever watched because it in no way was. It was fairly by the numbers and the big names won. We saw new tag team champions. That was the only real takeaway from it. But LA Knight, a big win, and I'm sure we'll see more of him very shortly here on SmackDown. I want to say hello to everyone who's already in the chat. Joe, Dom, Leon, Sai, and James. Welcome everyone. Dom saying what's up in chat. Don't forget, hit the like button. We have 6 words for you. Tom, don't make our tribal chief mad. Sai says, morning all. Thanks for checking in. Hit the like, or I've got 3 words for you. I'm not Dom. Leon says hi, Tom, as well. John Cena typically hyping the crowd. This is his way of doing things. I'd imagine he introduces LA Knight, but quite possibly Triple H as well. Joe says, I think Roman will be angry because Jimmy lost against LA Knight. Jimmy and Solo lost at Fastlane. Yeah, I was going to wonder if you mentioned Solo. And James says, Tom, I'm going to give you 3 predictions for the next 3 months. Brock returns, Gunter loses to Gable, Solo leaves Roman. Those are some pretty hefty predictions. Okay. So they're just throwing everyone out right at the beginning. Roman Reigns, he's not just here, he's here now. Appreciate that, Moxie. Thank you kindly. Someone in the crowd looking very much like Liv Morgan. P says, hold the front page. Wow, I'm here. Welcome, P. The season premiere of spoiler warning. What can I say? Everyone's going to be here. Everyone who's anyone wants to be here. And Roman's getting cheered. Dom says, where's Jimmy? Not a member of the Bloodline. And he's pointing out that now Roman's back, things have changed. Are you liking that, James? You're liking that. Megan's here, says, I can't lie, I've missed hearing Roman's theme. Same. I mean, it should be a good night for you. LA Knight's certainly going to get a lot of attention tonight. Might, in fact, get Roman's attention as well. James giving NXT a bit of heat there for its use of main roster workers. Sean said, nice of Roman to show up for work. Hey, the thing is, when you're on a 1-day-a-week contract, you turn up 1 day a week. People don't get annoyed if you turn up more than that. Well, they do. People are fickle. 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 The word fickle has been co-opted by Daniel Bryan. He hasn't said it in a long time, but it means something now. It means something big. So the Bloodline is on its way down to the ring, but it is just Solo, Paul Heyman, and Roman Reigns. No sign of Jey Uso, who I'm sure is going to make an appearance soon. They're still introducing the main championship as the Universal Championship because until Roman loses it, it is the Universal Championship. They can't call it 1,139 days without referring to it as the Universal Championship. Eric be the one. Eric be the one. Sean says, if not Solo, then who beats Roman? Cody. Rock. Not The Rock. But Cody seems the most logical option. Personally, I'd still go Solo, but I don't make the rules. Megan says, just give me some pretty people to watch, do what makes them happy, and I'm all good. Pete says, exactly, Tom. Why appear more than your contract says? Indeed, there is a reason that Roman Reigns went down to a limited date contract, and he ain't going to argue about it. I mean, John Cena's more limited date than anyone in that ring right now. James says, watch Roman talk about how they all call Cena the GOAT. Probably, yes. Man wants his props. It just feels bigger when Roman's there. Roman's the guy now, and I mean the guy. It just feels bigger. And this seems a pretty clear suggestion. The crown jewel will indeed be Roman versus John Cena. Megan says, just notice Heyman's hair. It's not grey anymore. It's not, is it? The man clearly didn't have access to what he needed. A big boo, but we all love him, really. Like, really, we do. James says, Paul was stressed when Roman is not around, so his hair went grey. Now it's back normal because Roman's back. See, that's it. That's exactly it. Roman returned. Paul Heyman just looks so much more confident and assured and youthful, vibrant. Roman's about to talk. I'm half expecting Jimmy's music now. Well, once people have acknowledged him, probably. He gets away with that one. Joe says, Tom, I think The Rock could beat Roman on a non-title match. No. Immediate disrespect. I like it. There's a gravitas to Roman. Just a gravitas to everything he says. Miss AC says, Mercedes Moné news. Yes, quite a lot of it. James says, I remember the days when everyone hated Roman. Now he's king of the company. King of wrestling, mate. King of wrestling. All the way, king of wrestling. P says, see if Cena chides Roman. What, for being part-time? That'd be funny. Cena chance increase. Not often they get shown that much love. No Cena sucks here. Blue says, I don't think The Rock would want to beat Roman at this point. He doesn't. Ooh. Bold. A very good line from Roman. No John Cena while he was there. Sean says, can we really call Roman the greatest of all time when Seth is the most decorated member of the Shield? Yes. Because it depends how you define decorated. Let's not forget that Roman Reigns has a championship reign that Seth Rollins can only dream of. So yes, Seth might have had a championship more times, but more days? Nah. Roman setting the agenda. John Cena hasn't really reacted yet, but he's got a microphone. He's ready to. The crowd are making themselves known. They don't want to see Cena walk away. Leon says, Roman's 2018 promos on Brock Lesnar about Brock being a part-timer has not aged well, and you are not wrong on that one. Roman has become the very thing he despised. The very thing he pledged to fight. The very thing. Okay, John, let's see what you got. Okay, that's honest at least. He's here to acknowledge. Doing good, thanks, Eric. How are you? I'll be good, mate. Okay, puts a lot of credit to the champion. Roman doesn't quite trust what's happening right now. I made a challenge you a crown jewel. Okay. Dom says I'd rather see AJ challenge, but it is what it is. I agree. Would that be LA Knight? It is LA Knight. So, are we actually going to be getting a crown jewel LA Knight versus Roman Reigns? Because that is way too soon. Joe says, I think it's either Cody, Solo, or someone else who could beat Roman. It could be someone else, yes. It could literally be anyone based on the parameters that you've set there. Megan enjoying the moment for sure. Pete, not so much. LA Knight keeps an eye on Solo, but turns his back on Roman. It's a risk. Crowder behind him. John Cena very much seems to want to push the guy. Sai says, no, please, let's have this in Saudi Arabia so I don't have to watch it. Well, as you guys know, I wouldn't be watching it if it's in Saudi Arabia. John Cena trying to pass LA Knight a microphone here. The ceremonial baton. And John Cena's leaving. He's just sitting in the corner and letting LA Knight do his thing. Hey, the crowd are behind him. One thing John Cena's always been good at is recognising when someone's over to a point where he just sort of latches on a little bit and enjoys the ride. Roman can't quite believe his eyes. But he has no idea who LA Knight is, let's be fair. They're not going to wait till SummerSlam, Joe. That's almost a year away. LA Knight's right there. He's hot. Hey, might as well. He's not going to win anyway. It's a bad start. Bad start. Solo Sikoa hovering in the background is everything I want from him. Sean says, I didn't think Roman would have this long reign when he returned at Payback in 2020. Figured he'd hold it for a year, then drop it. Yeah. I don't think any of us expected this. Okay, this is going to be a fairly bog standard promo, isn't it? Roman just letting him work. Leaving some space. Good control over the crowd there. Always know what they're going to say before you ask them to say it. I don't think they're going to do Roman and Cena, to be honest with you, Joe. I think they've done it, and I think it's kind of pointless to do it all over again. Again, Roman just leaving breathing space to make sure the crowd get behind him. They're all trying to work together to get this guy over. Come on, Roman, what you got? And they never said your name, did they, Roman? LA Knight, to my knowledge, is older than Roman as well. Again, Roman doesn't know who he is. That's the storyline. I like how they're using the reflection of the sunglasses there to frame Roman. That's very nicely done. They just lost their shot because he took them off. Literally, as I compliment him on his glasses, he takes them off. Solo just watching. Just waiting. Just alone without a care. Too wordy an insult. And there be a Jimmy. Roman, I don't think is particularly happy about that, but note how Solo is cornering John Cena. Solo's okay. Solo's doing his thing. No worries. He has no worries in the world. Sean says, could have lost to Roman benefit LA Knight? Yeah. Yeah, beating Roman is basically an impossibility now. Any match with Roman is a positive. You're not expected to win. If anything, you blame the company. And Roman's off. Leon says the moment he returned the title at WrestleMania in the triple threat of Edge and Bryan was when I knew he wasn't dropping it anytime soon. See, Edge and Bryan, I knew at that point he wasn't going to lose. There were later days. I thought Cody was the one. I genuinely thought Cody was the one. I heard in the June that Cody was going to be winning the Rumble, and I was certain. And now here we are. Oh, okay, so we're opening with Solo versus LA Knight. I think Solo's taking a loss here. That'll be our main event booked. Logically, then, Triple H is going to be our draw segment. Though Cody and Jey could well be it either. Megan says, I will say I'm loving the shot of Roman reflected in LA Knight's glasses. It's a damn good shot. He's losing his way a little bit when they give him the microphone too long. Works best in short bursts. Okay, so it's a pretty clear... He did say that side. He said, yet again. Interesting. So they're not announcing when things are going to be, just that they're going to happen. Trying to keep the viewership. Makes sense. They just had Roman and John Cena. They knew what they were doing there. We have Cody. We have Triple H. Pretty deadly return, which is a pretty big deal, let's be fair. Yes, Sean. Always remember. James says, I just have a feeling Roman ain't getting pinned at Mania. We'll have to see how it goes. Dom says, Dom's spoiler, the announcement will be about Jade Cargill. And Pete says, there's HBK and Triple H fighting at Crown Jewel. No. Triple H can't wrestle. That's not going to happen. Ever again. Rhea Ripley takes on Shayna Baszler on Monday Night Raw. Gunter versus Bronson Reed. It's a very different sort of season premiere, isn't it? We have season premieres on SmackDown where they just throw all the big names at it. And then season premieres on Raw where like quite small names are getting opportunities. Hector says, after that segment, I'm convinced LA Knight can hang with anyone on the mic. The guy's charisma is through the roof. Let's see how it plays out. I would not like to put too many chickens in one basket on this one. And Moxie says, still hoping for the which by the way is a Rhea Ripley Roman Reigns stare down. I don't think it's happening this week. I think they'll take their time with it. And I can't blame them for doing so. As we're in our first commercial break, just to give you a heads up, the spoiler warning earlier today, which is focused on a little bit about season premiere, but also things such as updates on CM Punk, Velveteen Dream, what's going on in AEW. We talked about AEW quite a bit. And of course, the plans for Randy Orton has so far gained 68 likes, which is a pretty good number. 250 views, but it's one of those shows where I'm not really concerned about getting high views. I'm concerned about having long views. Length is important. And the actual average length of time watched is pretty high. That means any future videos will be advertised more by YouTube because of it. So I want to say a huge thank you to all of you for watching Spoiler Warning earlier today. Sean says, how do you see Rhea versus Shayna going on Raw? Being okay. They do have some natural chemistry, and if they're given time, they'll do well. They should be given time. Sean says, how do you... I've already read that one. Dom says, well, we know Cody and Jey are going to win tonight with a Raw preview. Yeah, pretty much. It's like they've forgotten the order of their shows. Jeffrey, welcome, says, could it be that Jimmy used a diver to betray Roman Reigns? A diver? That doesn't make much sense. Rob says, do you think WWE is going to have LA Knight beat Roman at Crown Jewel? No. Absolutely not. Pete says, I'm sure I saw something about it on YouTube. As I said, I'm either wrong or dreaming. It's definitely not happening. I'd be careful who you're watching, mate. Sean says, you got it right, Tom. Asuka defeated Roxanne. Yeah, it's not a surprise. Main roster will always be a little further protected. It's not always the best thing, but it is the most consistent thing. No wrestling as of yet. I'm not sure how it's going to go. Of the matches, we only really know about 3 of them so far. I don't know if they want to start Brawling Brutes and Pretty Deadly and risk losing the viewership. Personally, I would start with Cody and Jey. That's just a good way to guarantee keeping hold of people, and then after that match going into Triple H. Then maybe Charlotte and so on and so forth. That's the easiest way I feel to keep hold of the people that are tuning in for a season premiere. As I did mention a spoiler warning, this is the Be Careful What You Wish For show. This is the Fox, you didn't want to pay us more. Well, this is what you're missing show. Of course, nothing yet about Wargames, Nick Aldis, Kevin Owens, and talk about all of them so far. Leon says, will Roman be a Survivor Series? Yep. Gomar says, assuming they're setting up Roman versus LA Knight at Crown Jewel? Yep. From 5 years ago, Pete, yeah, they did wrestle there 5 years ago. It was a dumpster fire. Jeffrey, you've asked the same question and it still don't make no sense. James says, I feel like the way return rumours have been going on, that if they're really bad people said they wanted back in WWE, news pages would report it for the sake of it. Oh yeah, it's fair. We are starting a Brawling Brutes and Pretty Deadly. Robin Dave says, according to Peter Insider and Kevin Owens is a person being traded. According to Peter Insider, Kevin Owens is a person being traded over to SmackDown. Elton Strong is standing up from his wheelchair. I kind of love it. I genuinely quite like this act. It's as an enhancement to SmackDown. Back from injury, back to wrestling the exact same people. So a lack of progress there, but overall quite good. We have 2 tag team matches and there is a connection between 2 of the tag teams. Austin Theory and Grayson Waller, of course, have worked previously with Pretty Deadly, and what a massive disco ball that is. They're an experience, aren't they? They're an experience. Hector says, in your opinion, is it too early to pull the trigger on having LA Knight face Roman? Yes it is. I think he hasn't had enough time to really firm up what his act is and really connect with the audience beyond the story, beyond the endorsement from John Cena. I think he's reaching a lot of people and he's connecting very well, but he's not top level yet. I don't know. It's a shame. Gomar says, excited to see Carlito on SmackDown. Been a long while. Forgot he was even there, to be honest. Forgot he was even there. Eric says, the Tuesday Night Wars birthed a new demo goddess and her name is Asuka. Dom says, Elton Strong in WWE in a wheelchair, Roderick Strong in AEW in a wheelchair. Interesting and completely unrelated. King Azza says, Tom, there's no point of LA Knight facing Roman because Roman will win. With that in mind, King Azza has just cancelled the main event of WrestleMania. Because you just don't believe anyone's going to beat Roman, so why wrestle? Why wrestle matches if you're not confident? Why? James says, I wonder if these guys are going to be going to Crown Jewel. Quite possibly, though they may tone down their act. Do you remember the time when Finn Balor was for everyone, and then just one time he wasn't anymore? I do. Joe says, I think LA Knight would get destroyed by Roman. I'd like to see AJ do it, but he is injured. Once again, AJ would also likely lose to Roman Reigns. So what's the point? What's the point in having wrestling matches? Because one person always has to lose, and that's just not acceptable. Eric says, a pop for LA Knight. I really wish he... Don't know what you're saying there, Eric. I don't know what you're saying. So we're almost a quarter of the way through SmackDown when the bell first rings. Big opening promo. I like that dive to the tag. He's running away from Rich Holland. That's a nice little character trait now. 456 says, what's up, Tom and chat? Welcome, 456. How you doing, mate? Good to see you. I'm also now starting to learn their names. I'm not too familiar with Pretty Deadly, and they were injured at a bit of an awkward time for me to get familiar with them. It's Kit Wilson, who's currently dangling out the ring. They oversell everything, and it works. James says, money talks. Whoever calls the shots at WWE shows in Saudi probably pays a lot of money. Yes, an exceptional amount of money. Rob says, I wonder if WWE is still planning to do Cody versus Roman 2 at Mania. Also, how does WWE feel about Roman's title run? They love Roman's title run, otherwise it wouldn't actively be happening. They absolutely love it. In honor of Sheamus, they are beating down Pretty Deadly on the apron and on the announce table. The referee somehow is only up to a count of 2, and we're going into another commercial break. 456 says, who do you think is going to be the one to take it off of Roman? Is it going to be LA Knight? No. No, it's not going to be LA Knight. Honestly, I've said this before and I'll stand by it. I think it should be Solo, but I'm also confident it's going to be Cody. Yeah, it might be a year late, but hey, I always felt it would be Cody. He's the guy after all, and certainly a favourite of both Vince McMahon and Triple H. Dom says, just a better match with AJ. Knight and Roman just seems like it's going to be really, really slow, and we know Roman loves that. Yeah, LA Knight wrestles a more classical style, similar to how Randy Orton used to wrestle. Roman Reigns has developed towards that to try and protect certain things. I won't go into any detail, but there was a report I put out a long time ago and got ridiculed for, which is 100% true. So he wrestles a very different style now to protect himself. It means that the matches can be quite dull, and in fact they have been for quite a while now. Give me AJ Styles and watch it go crazy. I prefer it. Mick says, did I hear Triple H's return to action? You did not. Hector says, Tom, did you see the UFC will be running a show in Saudi Arabia? I figure Vince had a hand in it, considering, well, yeah. Quite possibly, yes. Quite possibly. It depends whether or not they've merged the contracts. It might be that they're trying to sort of run the contract down, but we are where we are. Blue, it was many, many years ago on a Sportskeeda live preview on their Facebook channel. It was quoted by Daily DDT. I was working for them as well at the time. And then I was essentially told they were embarrassed to have me work for them, and that I should probably leave. So I did, and then I built this whole this channel here, where no one's embarrassed because I continue to report accurate news. Ross says, I wonder how Cody is going to get to Roman. We may find out tonight, but I also think we may not. I don't think Cody and Roman are going to be directly involved here. King Azza says, do you think it's going to be AJ at Survivor Series to face Roman? I certainly hope so. Things have changed when it comes to AJ Styles and the Bloodline. So honestly, I really do think they should just get back to it. James says, everyone's whipped for LA Knight. It's going to be Solo or Cody. No, I don't think anyone actually believes LA Knight stands a chance here. But it is fun. And as long as it's fun, I think we're happy. Dylan says, hi Tom. Given what is happening in Israel, will Crown Jewel be cancelled in November since Saudi Arabia is near Israel? No, because it's not really. It's not really. Joe says, I think the best way to be a WWE superstar is by getting in the head of them. Not sure what you're saying there, Joe. Could you reiterate that? 456 says, I wonder how Damian Priest is going to tie in with the Money in the Bank briefcase. Personally, I still think, or at least I've started to think over the last month or so, that it's going to be a WrestleMania cash-in. Seth Rollins, Mr. Heist of the Century, is going to suffer a heist of the century. That's what I think is going to be happening. James says, Saudi loves UFC, nothing to do with Vince, but Vince McMahon is still in the decision-making process for shows for the UFC. Appreciate that, Blue. Appreciate that, Pete. Yeah, it was a difficult time to be me. Very difficult time to be me. But I'm very happy with how it's ended up. In many ways, one of the best things to ever happen to me is to get away from Fansided and Daily DDT, to get away from Sportskeeda, start my own thing where I made more money here, just through your generosity, than I have from any time I spent working with either of those. Ellen Prince is now trying beats as a Balrog. Hasn't worked out for him because it's Butch and he breaks fingers. Rob says Triple H announcement is probably Nick Aldis, just don't know. That is certainly what Peter Insider seemed to be alluding to. And Dom says, how does Sportskeeda work? Because I've seen something they post, but you told me before, they're not the source. They get it from someone else, right? Yep. There is the occasional thing that they are the source for. It's usually something involving WWE India. Everything else, they are not the source of backstage information. They re-report, and because they are primarily read by Indian people, and obviously very strong in India, they get a lot of views. And because they get a lot of views and they get a lot of backlinks and they get shared a lot, it also means that they manage to get to the top of Google search results and the like. I know, Pete, I know. As I say, rough time. Joe says, could they do Cody Roman night 2, then Rock and Roman night 1 non-title match? That's exactly what I was talking about this time last year, going into WrestleMania. And King Other says, is it going to be Jimmy versus Cena at Crown Jewel? I don't want Solo losing to Cena. I'd rather Jimmy losing to Cena. Personally, I think it should be Solo versus Cena, and Cena, I'm confident, will want to lose. Rich Holland showing up and showing off here. Man's over. He should get a title shot against Roman Reigns. An exhausted kick from Elton Prince. The man's just tired. Rich Holland showing off again. Goes for the press and gets it. This I think is the most UK match the WWE have ever put on, including the ones that they put on in the UK. Kind of a Kinshasa there. Leon says, wait a minute, were you the one reporting in 2019 about WWE wanting to tone down the Fiend character? I remember that report after SummerSlam that year. Yes, and let me actually clarify what happened in that report. What I reported immediately after SummerSlam was that the Fiend was going to be going straight into the main event. He did. His very next match was at Hell in a Cell in the main event. That we were going to see less of the actual Fiend in the mask and more of the Bray Wyatt character from the Firefly Funhouse. That's exactly what we saw. Of course, it was horrendously misquoted, and it was a case of the Fiend scaring kids is what was actually sent out there. I remember getting into quite an argument with Ringside News, who had taken the report, bastardized it, and then gotten told off by Bray Wyatt for doing so. But yeah, that was me way back when. And again, still true. Because you see what happened afterwards. Firstly, we didn't see the Fiend for almost 2 months after he appeared this show after SummerSlam and attacked Jerry Lawler. And when he did reappear, straight into the main event. Red light obscuring what was going on. Very different character. Ellen Prince, nice and clever, feigning injury to get himself a win. Good old-fashioned heel shithousery. Running away now. I like the running away. Into his wheelchair. That was fun. I enjoyed that. And now just getting wheeled away. These guys are fun. They just get wrestling. Dom says, I've seen Breaker versus Goldberg on there for Saudi. Hope not, that's why I asked. Yeah, no, why would that happen? Goldberg is not under WWE contract and there is no interest in having him there. I reported that immediately after Triple H took over. And then other people reported it 2 months later. Rob says, I don't think WWE would have Roman break Hogan's title record. I think that would be a little excessive. I think his contract will be up before that, to be honest. We're getting another recap of Fastlane. This time LWO versus Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits. Logically, this would be a good spot for Carlito to make another appearance. Of course, Carlito wrestled for less than a minute in the end. He was blown up by the time he got to the ring. Can't say I loved it. I can't say I loved it. I'm waiting for a reaction, Leon. I'm waiting for a reaction. Yeah, I worked for Sportskeeda for about a year. It was just over a year. They reached out to me and said, look, the exclusive stuff that you reported on Twitter, would you like to do it for us? We'll share it wider and you'll get paid for it. My answer was yes. About a year later, I resigned. I didn't feel like it was the right place for me. And I was under a lot of pressure from other wrestling journalists who decided that I was the devil. Kayla Braxton has been dismissed. Bobby Lashley has come to say hi. Carlito is holding an apple. I think we know what's going to happen. I think Carlito is going to spit, not swallow. Bobby Lashley saying my show after Roman Reigns just said it. It's another show where they seem to be booking it on the fly, or at least that's the story they're telling us. It's not a great option. Street Profits attack Carlito from behind. Carlito's protecting his apple. Just want to throw that out there. Lost his glasses. Lost his pen. But not his apple. Leon just says, wow. What are you thinking, Leon? Has it changed your mind about me? Adam Pearce and Jason Jordan in a stunning red suit. Protecting Carlito. And we are walking away. Rob says, I can see the IWC when Roman beats LA Knight. They're going to say LA Knight is buried. They're going to say Roman is selfish. Roman don't book nothing. Roman doesn't book a thing. Selfish, and you're right though. To be clear, I'm not saying you're wrong. The IWC are, well, I've said it before, fickle. They be fickle. To quote Daniel Bryan, fickle, 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 fickle. So it looks like tonight we're going to have Carlito versus Bobby Lashley. We're going to have a tag team championship match. We're going to have Solo versus LA Knight. And we're already a third of the way through. So what about a women's match? Is there going to be a women's match? Is there not going to be? Surely we're going to see something of Io Sky. She's a champ. Get her on TV. Maybe Asuka can celebrate her appearance on NXT. Charlotte's got to be on the show. The season premiere, you can't have one without Charlotte. As we are approaching a third of the way through the show, we currently have 25 people watching and only the 13 likes. 2 more likes gets us to 15. Each individual like really does help to boost the algorithm and guarantee further advertisement of the show. That guarantees me more viewers, and with more viewers, we get closer to the point of doing this full time. I've run the numbers, and in order to go full time, I need to be getting 20 times as many views as I'm currently getting. It's a big number. I think I can do it. So let's do it. Every like does help, so please do consider doing so. Leon says this feels like the 4th commercial break. We're not even an hour into the show. Yep, they're sort of top loading it, aren't they? For a season premiere, it doesn't feel like it's the most important. But I suppose that's Fox. Rob, thank you kindly for that. I'm not going to take it, as you might expect, but thank you kindly. Joe's got a busty weekend ahead. Now, Joe, are you trying to tell us something? Because if your weekend's busty, then I can only assume I need to ask what her name is. It's a crude way of saying it, but you said it. Logically, at this point, we'll go into a match. I personally would go Carlito, Bobby Lashley, then Triple H for the draw segment. Logical. And then we head towards the tag team match, and for the main event, Solo versus LA Knight. Makes the most sense. The layout of the show is pretty strong, but I've got to say, before the main event, we need at least some sort of women's segment. Maybe they start to build towards Wargames. Maybe that's the first thing Nick Aldis does throughout Wargames. Maybe he gets to shout Wargames this time because William Regal's not allowed. At least if they want to respect the agreement with AEW, which they don't always, but sometimes they do. And I think at the minute they're just trying to make a point with Tony Khan speaking as he does. They're trying to make a point that they are very, very different. No, Pete, I do my own thumbnails. Sai does the overlays, and he does a fantastic job, as you know. Ed actually did the overlay for the Fastlane watch party. We have a Bayley backstage. Zelina Vega might get a bit of revenge against Bayley. Yes, Eric, I did indeed say the word Wargames. Okay, so it's not Carlito Bobby, it's Zelina Vega Bayley. Oh, Bayley makes Zelina look so small. And she just hit her with a shoe. Funny old world we live in. Yeah, my thumbnails are done by myself. I'm quite proud of them. I feel like lately I've hit a really good run of form on my thumbnails. Not something I expected to be saying. But I think I've cracked it now. Basically the secret was bigger text. Jimmy is actively very annoying to Roman. Sean says, were you still with SK when you reported about Rock working Becky on the Smackdown premiere on Fox? Yes, I was. Though I reported that on Twitter and not via Sportskeeda. I didn't get paid for that one. I chose not to. And I stand by it. You might say I knew the way the wind was blowing. A clear suggestion coming here that Jimmy and Solo are going to be sent to claim those tag championships. Rob says Tony Khan is issues. He really needs to stop before it gets worse. He has stopped now, thankfully. Man's under a lot of pressure and the cracks are starting to show. I'm glad you like him, Pete. Like I said, I feel like I've hit a good run of form with my thumbnails. I'm proud of them. And yeah, long term, fingers crossed, I continue to improve. But yeah, I've learned how to do things in a way that's at least consistent. That's half the battle right there. Bayley on her way down to the ring first. Damage control in tow. Bayley's been doing a lot of wrestling recently as a spoiler to protect Io Sky from oversaturation. Personally, I quite like it. Also, Dakota Kai, that's a great jacket. I'm Team Kick all the way, as you know. Also, that's a great jacket. It's a damage control has not gotten old. I know that maybe it's a bit less exciting than it has been when it first debuted, but they do have a championship in their mix, and Bayley's Bayley, always ensuring that people get a lot of attention. Dakota Kai, injured or not, she adds a lot to it just by being there. Doing a little dance and putting people over with a point. That's the Dakota Kai way. Of course, Dakota Kai and Zelina Vega are quite close. Zelina Vega recently appeared on Dakota Kai's Twitch channel and has appeared there a few times before. Rob says Wargames is going to be amazing. I wholeheartedly agree. I don't think they've done a bad Wargames, the WWE, ever since they first did it in NXT. Moxie says Roman must have Paul Heyman blocked. I wouldn't go that far. Seems a bit extreme. Leon says, quite rightly, after a commercial break, 4 minutes later, another commercial break. I mean, yeah, it's excessive, isn't it? You're not wrong. I don't know if they're trying to make sure they have less later on, but usually it's 2-3 minutes of commercial breaks per 10 minutes of show. Seems excessive. Rob says, I'm trying to understand what's Jimmy's play in all this. He's just trying to go back. It's a bit Oedipal. He's just trying to go back to the warmth and the security when he was in the Bloodline. He's been on the outside now and he didn't like it. He didn't like it. That makes more sense, Joe. Makes a lot more sense. The LWO are not being represented beyond what's just happened. Carlito getting a beat down. Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits further extolling their heel virtues. But it doesn't look like we're going to... Pardon me. It doesn't look like we're going to get a match for Rey Mysterio, a match for Santos Escobar. In many ways, the return of Carlito has demoted Santos Escobar, and I do think that needs mentioning, because it will severely limit the time that he has as part of the group that he has. And of course, there's also another tag team. There's over a whole 2 people that nobody seems to remember in the LWO that never get to actually wrestle. I think that's a shame. King Adza says, I think Jimmy and Solo will attack Cody and Jey after they retain. Quite possibly, but that will mean that Cody and Jey get revenge in the main event. No, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. We could end up with LA Knight, Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso versus Roman Reigns, Jimmy Uso and Solo Sikoa. And it's just, there's so much oos. It's the oosiest of matches. It would be a good way for Kevin Owens to get involved in that. Rob just says, oh no, I got you. Rob says, do you think Jimmy is trying to get Solo out of the Bloodline? Solo kind of reminds me of Batista. He's not trying to get Solo out of the Bloodline. He's picking his battles with that one. And yeah, there's an element of Batista. I've mentioned this before, that when it comes to the idea that, well, I want Solo Sikoa to dethrone Roman. And when the moment eventually comes, I want a Batista-style thumbs down from Solo Sikoa. I think he has everything needed to become the next Batista, but he needs to win the championship, and winning it from Roman would skyrocket him. Thumbs down. That's all you need. Bayley hurling some abuse at Michael Cole. So we were supposed to get a championship celebration. That's just been abandoned. I'd imagine after Bayley wins, they'll have a promo, which can be interrupted by someone. Probably Charlotte. Charlotte didn't get her one-on-one, so she'll be trying to get another one. Another showing of the value of Bayley to Io Sky. I'm still confident there's going to be a breakup, but Io Sky and Bayley are working well together right now. Dakota Kai would be, I'm sure, if she could. Gotcha, Moxie. I understand what you're saying now. Sean says, did you see that Undertaker appeared in NXT? Yes, I did. I heard the gong, so I knew it was coming. And it was interesting. I'm not an Undertaker fan anymore. I was. I stopped being an Undertaker fan at WrestleMania 33 when he lost to Roman, and I felt that was the perfect ending to the story. And then he kept going. So I'm just going to pretend he didn't. Zelina Vega is isolated right now. We've kind of forgotten about Shotzi, but she's taken a bit of time off. For a reason. I won't go into too much detail. I imagine most of you are aware of it by now. But yeah, Shotzi taking a bit of time off, it seems. So we have Zelina Vega against Bayley. Zelina's been fairly heavily featured. She's usually there as a manager, but she does wrestle every now and then, maybe once a month. She's not a winner, per se. She doesn't win matches, which is at least involved in the division. Rob says people in the IWC need to understand that when someone like an LA Knight or Sami Zayn, Roman is there to elevate them. Yes, absolutely. The hope is that you'll at least believe in them. And if you believe in them, they can make a good start. Then get some momentum behind them. When you're in the ring with Roman, he makes sure that people are chanting your name. Doesn't matter who you are, they'll chant your name. Bit clunky there, off the ropes and into a punch. And then an instruction by Zelina to go again. Yeah, again, bit clunky. This match not quite going the way every woman wants. You can tell on Bayley's face she's not happy with how this is going. Bayley's slowed down a little there. She's frustrated. She needs to get back into character and fast. Okay, we're good. Dakota's got her back in. She needed it. Going for a finish? Not quite. This match is already borderline longer than the match that Zelina Vega had with Rhea Ripley. She's going for a 619 on the bottom rope. That, again, not great. Dakota Kai tries to get involved. First time she's tried to get physically involved for a while now. Since her injury. Leon says, I remember in 2018, I flew from the UK to US for that year's WrestleMania to see the Undertaker match with Cena. I regret going because that Mania wasn't good and the boos were insane for the main event. Yeah, that would have been, of course, Roman versus Brock. And hey, Brock won. That was a surprise. Bad match. Just a whole lot of F5s and blood and then eventually a cover. And that was that. The distractions of damage control have paid off. Paint by numbers. Bayley picks up the win. Sloppy match. A couple of good moments, but Zelina Vega seemed determined to hit her spots, and it kind of cost him. We get a bit of a prolonged beatdown. This, of course, will create an opportunity for the women's division to get involved and protect. And here they come. Who have we got? Charlotte. Charlotte Flair. It's always Charlotte. They were always going to have Charlotte. So what? Next week it's Bayley and Io Sky versus Charlotte and Zelina Vega? This is definitely going to be the Wargames match. Charlotte running in heels again. Woman's amazing. By the end of the night, I'm confident that's what it's going to be. Tag match confirmed. Up next, after another commercial break, Triple H makes his announcement in the Draw segment. Now, I'm going to ask you to bear with me for a moment, guys. I'm going to go and make myself a drink because I'm running low at the moment. I won't be a minute. I'll activate an ad. Just basically ignore it. You know how this goes. And stick around. I'll be back in just one moment. Please don't go anywhere. See you in a sec. Hello again, everyone. Welcome back just in time for the King of Kings, Triple H, to make his appearance. Megan says Zelina looks like a kid next to Charlotte with those heels on, which was not untrue, and says she should have also checked she could run in those heels first. Charlotte Flair can run in any heels. I don't know how it works, but it does. Yes, Dom, still live, still here. Cheers, Pete. Triple H in a new suit. Now, of course, there were plenty of false rumours about him having a divorce recently. Maybe that's his announcement. It's not. Shaking hands with kids at ringside. Ignoring other people. Naturally. Ah, so much better. True, Megan. Historically, she will charge down heels or no. Do you remember when she threw a microphone into that kid's chest? That was funny. I didn't even press the add button, did I? Adam Pearce is in the ring. That's telling because Adam Pearce has been making decisions for the show so far. And yet it looks like he's about to be replaced. Megan says, I'll say it's either a new GM or Jade's formal introduction. I think the new GM makes the most sense. That's been reported already, so it seems likely. I'd also lean towards that new GM announcing Wargames. For Jade Cargill, we haven't seen her yet. So logically, we're going to have to see her at some point. Some point during the show. A lot of love for Triple H, as you might expect. He looks a little emotional. Might have retired wrestling, but he can still cut promos. Mentioning Survivor Series seems quite telling. Doesn't say where Crown Jewel is. I always found that telling. Pushing the season's premiere thing. Is he going to be appearing on Raw? I don't think he will. Adam Pearce. He's going to celebrate Adam Pearce. Is he going to be given an assistant? A Sonya Deville replacement. See, that is very telling of where Triple H is and his experience as a wrestler. He heard the crowd start to applaud, so he stopped talking. Yep, he's about to be replaced. Adam Pearce was still very early in his tenure as GM. We didn't even realise he was a GM when Roman Reigns first won the championship in a triple threat with Bray Wyatt and Braun Strowman. They've just muted the crowd. Nick Aldis chant is happening. Okay, we're going GM for Raw for Adam Pearce, so logically a GM of SmackDown, Nick Aldis. Triple H still has a lot of control over the crowd. Now, news already leaked. We have music. Dominic Mysterio coming down. Again, I maintain Wargames is likely to be announced at the same time. With a member of Judgment Day there, it's telling. Big boos, a lot of people watching on their phones. The constant little pauses from Dominic, he's been trained to do that. The same way if people are starting to watch chant and you're a heel, you leave gaps so they can chant what? Dominic's making it clear that if you boo him, he'll screw up. And if he screws up, you'll celebrate. So you can hear them playing with the dial now. That was a wonderful moment. A mother holding her child's ears closed. Triple H appeals for quiet. He's still a heel at heart. Dominic's hair is just... what even is it? This... How can you not love Dominic Mysterio when this is what he gives you? He has exceeded all expectations. All expectations. Note that there is no Rhea Ripley, no Damian Priest, no Finn Balor. I think Dominic's going to get hit with a move. I think he's going to get hit by a move. A finisher, you might say. Leon says Dom is so good. Monday Night Mommy. Triple H, you're literally in charge. What do you mean the wrong people? Oh, he was there the whole time. He was there the whole time. Oh, that's bad. He was legitimately there the whole... He's massive. Yeah, size not wrong. That's a really underwhelming reaction. Oh, we're talking about competition between brands. That's not a great thing. Okay, the crowd got behind him with that one. Leon, you're right. That was a very good line, and Dominic's selling it very well. He looks like a kid. Okay, so we're immediately talking about who's moving to SmackDown. So Dominic's going to get stunned. Megan says, if Aldis is just going to be a shady bitch the whole time, then I'm here for it. I'm also here for it. It's a very good line. Triple H is really enjoying... Like, he's genuinely enjoying this. So I said, I was sure he was going to say it's Dominic. I mean, that would be fun. There's a sign in the crowd that says, I did time with Dirty Dom. I respect it. Dom says, Dirty Dom is going to be a mega heel. The reaction he gets is crazy. It is indeed Kevin Owens who's back on SmackDown again, leaving Sami Zayn on the other side. They broke up another tag team, guys. Another tag team broke up. How long did they spend building to Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn beating the Usos for the tag team championships? And they've already broken them up. The second it stopped being about the Bloodline, they stopped wanting it. I don't think he's going to love that. Owens gets passed from brand to brand. He gets messed around. Yes, it was, Dom. That was a trade. Jey Uso for Kevin Owens. And Dominic Mysterio gets stunned and oversells not even particularly well. Well, Kevin Owens is back on SmackDown again. Man's a yo-yo. I mean, Kevin Owens is over, but he's also got a bit of Big Show going on about him. Lots of face and heel turns. Lots of Raw and SmackDown swaps. Massive inconsistency. And he's not going to beat Roman. He's going to end up feuding with Austin Theory, isn't he? He's got Austin Theory written all over him. We go backstage to Roman Reigns, who just cannot get rid of this guy. So I said, shouldn't Pierce be upset KO has moved, or is that not a thing anymore? Well, Pierce was only just appointed GM of Raw. Vega says, no one in wrestling works harder than Impact's social media team. They're already tweeting about, check out when Aldis wrestled for us. So they should. They are trying desperately to remain relevant in a world where AEW has replaced them as a number 2 promotion. They're not doing bad. Roman Reigns just losing his mind because he's just sick to death of Kevin Owens. King Az says, Tom, how are we going to get to Cody and Roman now? He has to win the Rumble. Well, maybe he wins the Rumble. Maybe he wins Elimination Chamber. Maybe he just walks up to Roman and says, I want the championship match. So he does. So. Any Ohio says they split KO and Sammy for a reason. I'm sure they did, but I don't think it's a good reason. I don't think it's good enough. Leon says, kind of sad Nick didn't get an entrance. Not the best introduction. No, he needed entrance music. He needed to come down. He needed to not have his name said before he actually comes out. Instead, he was at ringside the entire time. The entire time he was just sat there waiting. Just ruins any hype. Sean says, does having 2 general managers mean there is a brand split now? Well, yeah, technically there's a brand split the entire time. They just haven't really enforced it. Technically there's been the brand split. It just hasn't been useful. Moxie says, I'm saying Solo dethrones Roman. So you're saying what I said? Yep. You're saying what I said. We had another commercial break as we head into the final third. Triple H has now made his appearance. No sign of Wargames as of yet, but there was talk of Survivor Series. Kevin Owens is now on SmackDown. That's the last I expect we'll see of him tonight. Next up will be Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso versus Austin Theory and Grayson Waller. A good spot for Grayson Waller to be in. I can't imagine it's going to be too difficult a match for them. But it'll be a good solid 10-minute match. Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso will look good. How involved Jimmy is going to be interesting. Because apparently he's gone after Kevin Owens, but what about everyone else? He's suddenly got a lot of opponents. Jimmy's definitely not going to be the one. Dom says, a spoiler, Gunter will defeat Roman. I wouldn't hate it. I wouldn't hate it if immediately after WrestleMania, when Roman vanquishes Cody a second time, they do the draft. Gunter is moved to Friday Night Smackdown. He immediately steps up to Roman, beats him down. Imperium back him up, beat down the Bloodline. They go into the first pay-per-view and Gunter just beats him. Like, literally outright just beats him. That for me is everything I want and everything I need. Eric says, Tom, I'm surprised they broke up Sammy and Kevin Owens so quick. Same. Any Ohio says, Nick Aldis as the GM instead of an in-ring competitor. Good move. I think eventually he will be involved as in-ring. I think they'll build him up slowly and get him to that point. I would imagine someone will eventually wind him up so badly that he has to wrestle. Probably going to be Roman, let's be fair. But it's a good way to start someone off. It's just a shame because there are plenty of other people who could have had that role that already worked there. And here Triple H is hiring more people again. He has a thing for it. He keeps hiring people. Sean says, are you going to buy Becky's book? Yeah, no question. Absolutely I will. As you guys know, I'm a big Becky Lynch fan. I am, after all, Irish. So, it's in the blood. Also have a kid who's a big fan, so it's logically the only thing I should do. Eric says, I want Cody to be the first Rhodes to hold the world title. Gunter isn't a Rhodes, mate. Gunter is not a Rhodes. We have a little vignette for Dragon Lee, who just got called up. The roster's starting to look real stacked. I swear there was supposed to be a Dragon Lee and Cameron Grimes match. Maybe they'll be involved against Austin Theory and Grayson Waller. Any Ohio says if it's Rock versus Roman at Mania, Aldis versus Cody at Mania, maybe? No, it's not happening. Nick Aldis has been approached by Chelsea Green and Piper Niven to talk about the cursed tag titles. Are they actually going to try and make the women's tag titles mean something? Okay, they've dismissed them because Charlotte Flair exists. It is a terrible first impression. Not very professional at all. Nick Aldis very much has a voice. A voice of a manager. Charlotte cut him off then. He's not happy about it. Mixed reception by the crowd. Charlotte, when she gets near championships, tends to have a bad moment. There is Jade Cargill stepping right up to Charlotte Flair. There was talk of this feud. Jade Cargill dressed for SmackDown there as well. Bruce, how you doing, mate? Hi, Tom. Good to see you, buddy, and good to see you too, Bruce. Welcome to the show. Joseph's Island's a lovely place. I went there 2 years ago. I've only been to Northern Ireland. That's where my family comes from, but, you know. Bruce says, Tom, will Sammy and KO ever win the tag titles back? Infinity is a very long time, basically. They're not even a tag team right now, so. Leon says, as regards Aldis, it's because he has a beautiful British accent. Does that mean I need to be a GM? I think I'd be a good GM for a wrestling promotion. Just walking out and being like, no, this person needs a tag match. You know what this feud needs? Ladders. Okay, I'm actually in love with the idea. And he says, and just so everyone knows, The Rock does have a connection to the Philadelphia area. I don't know what that's related to, mate. Sean says, do you think Jade will wrestle at some point this year? Not sure. I think probably. I'd like to see her take on and beat Charlotte, to be fair. That seems to make the most sense. But I would love it if she just debuted in the Rumble and won it. Go for it, Moxley. The more Nicks we get, the better. He's going to call him a Nicky. He absolutely is. Hey, Joey, how you doing, mate? Joe says, Tom, did you see the interview that Rock on YouTube with Pat McAfee before The Rock came back? Yeah. Everyone was talking about it. Bruce wants Tom to be the GM of WWE. Tom is me. Joey says, what's up with Jade Cargill popping up on all the brands? Seems they don't know where they want her. They know exactly where they want her. What they're trying to do, much as they did with Cody early on, is make sure that she appears at least briefly at all times. They want to make sure there is at least a little tiny thing that people are paying attention to. It's a way that they build someone before they get to Gen Pop. Leon, my wrestling name would 100% be Tom Colohue. I have a brand. 100%. I know Eric Triple H did not announce Wargames, but I do suspect that moment will be coming. Now, before we continue, I'd just like to say, whoa, oh. I genuinely did not think that it would be the tag championships that Cody Rhodes won first. Of all the titles, it's not the one. I thought it'd be the United States Championship because, for some reason, Ricky Chino is going to be very happy. There was a sign that says, do you feel him, sir? Don't know who that is, but they're very, very happy to get a belt. He says that fan is so impressed. That fan is going to cry for the rest of his goddamn life. It's pretty important, Joey. I mean, it sets the agenda. When you consider it's a season premiere, they're trying to set the agenda going forwards. It's the reset before the actual season premiere, which is right after Mania. But while I have you, what I do want to say is whoa ho. And I think you understand why. Hard to say now, Bruce. Kevin Owens has been moved far, far away from it. Pete would have fainted and the belt would have been stolen. The next up, after yet another commercial break, Jey Uso and Cody Rhodes defend the Tag Team Championships against Austin Theory and Grayson Waller. Hey Adam, how you doing, mate? James, you just want to zip back and watch it. Triple H said a lot of stuff. It was a good segment. I'd recommend checking it out. Hector says, Tommy, you more surprised Cody won the tag titles first or that he won them with Jey Uso? Both. Like, genuinely both. So I didn't expect him to win that championship. And it just doesn't make sense to have him with Jey Uso. I mean, Jey Uso is partly responsible for him losing at WrestleMania. How many beatdowns did Jey Uso give him? But more importantly, do you feel him, sir? That one line has got Cody over more than anything else with me, gotta be honest. Joey says, the KO and Sami not a team anymore. Nope. They are not champions, which means they can't go on both brands. So they are full on split. I'm worried that they're going to forget about Sami Zayn again. Immediately a rap. I believe they could call it something. They just call it rap. Everyone know about Forgot About Dre, but can you replace it with Forgot About Zayn? They're like they forgot about Zayn. I can see it. I can hear it in my head. Sean says, I thought Cody would win the undisputed Universal title first. Apparently not. Apparently the day is not to come. Thankfully, Adam, there are not. Joey says, I don't think that's a good idea, splitting them up. I agree. And Pete, drop some tables. Because when in doubt, drop some tables. Heading into the final third of the show. So far I've had 2 wrestling matches, with 2 more to come. Sort of crammed into this final section. I don't expect a lot of promos. Joey says, spent a whole year telling the stories and reuniting. Now they split up in a lackluster way. Yep. I just feel like there's a lot of making up as it goes along at the minute. There's a lot of just reimagining things. And a lot of, oh, this'll work, this'll do. Disappointing. Surely they can do more. Surely they can do better. Yeah, also, kind of not. You know? Kind of not. Also, we're getting a lot of commercial breaks. I'm not worried they'll forget about Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens always gets attention. He always gets focus. I don't really care, Adam. Like, people have egos. Yeah. No one else is going to pat him on the back, are they? Leon says, I honestly don't care about those tag titles and the division as a whole. My worry is that WWE don't. Triple H has put no focus on tag wrestling in the entire time he's been in charge. The actual match plan, the Usos versus Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, was always a Vince McMahon thing. Vince wasn't that interested. Jack says, Cody not winning the Universal title. Triple H said the title stays on SmackDown. If they're not moving Cody to SmackDown, then he can't hold the SmackDown title. Seems to be the case, doesn't it? Seems to be the case. Sean says, a month ago, Sami and KO were tag champions. Now they are split up. Yep. See their pants. I just feel like there's a whole lot of making up as they go along. Another Fastlane recap. I was kind of hoping they'd show some of that press conference. It's the only part of any press conference they've done that I've enjoyed. I think they've cared about the tag division more recently than that, Bruce, especially when New Day were involved. The New Day and the Usos had some great feuds. The Viking Raiders got involved. Remember the Bludgeon Brothers? Good stuff. I enjoyed it. There's been good times for the tag division recently, but not since the pandemic at the very least. Not much of a response for Grayson Waller. I think they need to get back to the Grayson Waller effect. I wouldn't say drunk Pete. I wouldn't go that far, but they'd had a drink. Sean, it's true that Rhea did hold a SmackDown Women's Championship while on Raw, but they did retcon that as soon as they possibly could. With a brand new championship, they didn't have Raw or SmackDown on it. Theory and Grayson Waller just match up so well. I'd like to see Pretty Deadly at this point. Did Grayson Waller just rip up the "Do you feel him, sir" sign? That's going to be a problem. How dare they? Leon says the last time the tag division was great was in NXT Black and Gold. Revival, War Machine, DIY. All I need to say. Oh no, it was AOP, wasn't it? Revival, AOP, DIY. P says the Hawaiian punch is lethal though. Oof. And Joey says the Black and Gold tag division was stacked. Oh, is that their catchphrase? Is that why people keep shouting yeet at me? I've just been ignoring it. Is that their catchphrase now? Do they have a catchphrase? Not good. There's about a half hour left. And there's 2 matches to come. These are going to be short matches. Sean says, when WWE eventually breaks up Grayson Waller and Austin Theory, does Austin turn face? It depends. If the WWE choose to book him to turn face at that time. Like, there's too many variables there, Sean. Didn't see a lot of Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits so far tonight. I get the feeling the arrival of Kevin Owens is kind of demoting them. To be fair, also the arrival of Cody and Jey. We'd likely have an LWO Street Profits match happening now, if not for this. But hey, Cody's over, you can tell. Strange seeing Jey Uso back on SmackDown, knowing that Jimmy's around here somewhere. I couldn't tell you where, but he's somewhere. headbutt off. Not often to see one of them. Moxie says Roman saying, stop saying that whenever Jimmy says yeet is too hilarious. Is that a thing? I heard it earlier. Like, don't get me wrong. I watch it, I want to eat it too. But, you know, I still don't think it's over. Joey rightly suggesting Undisputed Era as tag teams that can be involved in that. I still remember Roderick Strong turning on Pete Dunne way back in the day. Not a great connection there from Jey. Don't do it. It's going to be don't do it. We have another commercial break. I feel like we haven't had, since the opening section, more than 5 minutes before a commercial break. There's just too many. Leon says, are they saving Jimmy versus Jey for Mania? Sure feels that way. It does, doesn't it? It really does. Bruce says, Tom, will there be anyone new to join Bloodline? I found that very unlikely at this point in time. Too late in the day. And Pete said, this is why I like Raw. Raw can't be much better than this. I don't mean like content-wise. I mean purely for commercial break-wise. Raw can't be much different. They both lose about a third of the show to commercial breaks. So for every 10 minutes of show, there's 5 minutes of commercials. When I watch it after the fact, that's always how it plays. Joey says Raw's been a lot more interesting than SmackDown. From Raw, what I'm familiar with is quite a few people saying that they're just very sick of Judgment Day feuding with Cody, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Well, I suppose Kevin Owens moving across to SmackDown kind of helps that. But how about Wargames? How will we have the Wargames? Sai says, isn't the commercial overload due to the season premiere? Hopefully a one-off. Hopefully so. I'm not aware of that, but that doesn't mean it's incorrect. Hopefully it is. There's only so many times I can sit and watch this many commercial breaks. Joey says, as regards Raw, besides that, I've enjoyed the stuff Drew is doing and the New Day Viking Raiders feud. Cool. Drew McIntyre seems to do a very, very good heel. To go back from the Scottish Warrior to the Scottish Psychopath, I've wanted it for a while, and it's certainly revitalising his character. After all, he's now in position to be competing for championships again. That's what he was wanting. If he's going to sign a new deal, then he needs that heel turn. Moxie says, Kevin moving to SmackDown. What about Wargames? Maybe Jey, Sami, Cody, and LA versus Judgment Day and maybe Roman. It wouldn't be Judgment Day and Roman. If it was some combination of Judgment Day and Solo, sure. Bruce says, will Drew win the World Heavyweight title, Tom? Depends how much longer he wrestles for. It's a very open question, that, Bruce. If you mean in this particular match with Seth, no. They're not going to give him the championship unless he signs, and he won't sign unless he gets the championship. It's a very awkward conversation for everyone involved. No worries, Bruce. Moxie says maybe Bloodline. I can see that. I can see that. So we are still in our tag team match. Austin Theory's had Jey Uso in a rest hold for most of it. Cody's just been standing there. The crowd are feeling a bit restless. So they're not moving around much. It sounds like they're moving around much. They're not. I suspect the audio's been turned up there. Joey says, do you see Seth holding the title until Mania? Personally, I do, yes. And losing it to Damian Priest. That's what I personally see. Drew McIntyre is one of many people in WWE at the moment who are waiting on a new deal. It's him, it's Becky Lynch, there's a few more. Convincing Drew McIntyre to sign a new deal is actually proving quite difficult, because the promises that they've made to him just aren't falling on fruitful results, you know? He wants championships. He wants promises of championships. He wants actual championships. Those aren't an offer. Triple H likes long, top-level reigns, and hey, Roman and Seth is guys. John says, Tom, did you see Ronda said she's retired on Instagram? I was told about it here in Spoiler Warning earlier today. Not surprised by it. Awkward landing by Jey. The elbow drop might have to be retired. Okay, on a second viewing, it's actually alright. I misread the situation. We're building towards a hot tag. Again, we don't have too long for the rest of the show. And there's going to be at least 2 more commercial breaks. Waller buying time for a Jey Uso comeback. Bit of a kick to get there. Jack said she's retired from wrestling and MMA. Oh, thank you. Sean says, with Dean Ambrose the Triple H guy? Yep, entirety of the Shield were. Entirety of the Shield. It's sad because we'll never see the Shield again, apart from the moment where they get their Hall of Fame induction, and they will. But at the same time, we're in a very strong period for wrestling. Strong period for factions as well. Leon says, I really enjoyed Bobby Lashley's US title run. That was only a few months. Now every reign has to be a year plus. No, that's very true. Very true. Bobby Lashley as the United States champion was very memorable. And it did lead him directly to the WWE Championship. I've got to say, it's an awkward finisher for Grayson Waller. You have to set it up very specifically, and you're just not going to get the chance to do so. Austin Theory with a Kenny Omega move. Joey says Triple H loved Adam Cole. He would have got a big push on the main roster if he was still there, which is spot on and absolutely right. And that moment may still come. There are many people Triple H is interested in, and let's just say Adam Cole tops the list. He's actually even higher up than Samoa Joe. Jey going for the team finish? Not perfect, but still pretty good. Like, I'm impressed by that. The synchronization required is very impressive. This match did not last long at all. Leon says thought it would be Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe's still up there, but he's not the number one. Moxley calling it the Uzi cutter. The Cody 1D is not exactly perfect as a name. Malachi will see Leon. I don't know if that moment will come, per se. Championships retained with time for 2 more commercial breaks and an entrance by Roman. That will be all. They won't be time for an actual match. But still. I think they top-loaded SmackDown this week. And now they're trying desperately to get all the wrestling in. Sean, there's a number of people that Triple H would love to work with again. I've detailed them at length, and I'm not going to go into it at this point and name specific individuals beyond what I've already said. There's plenty of people whose situation precludes them from being poached in that manner. And there are plenty of people who Triple H would not openly say, I'm interested in. With that in mind, we'll move on. Roman's music hits. He's going to make a point now. Walking right past Jey and right past Cody. Jimmy and Solo heading down first. I don't actually see Roman. Pete says 4 we has Solo LA Knight scrap. That is where we're headed. I mentioned earlier that this tag team championship feud is what's coming next. Jimmy Uso and Solo Sikoa versus Jey Uso and Cody. The moment's coming. Cody sidesteps Solo to make sure he stares Roman down. This seems pretty clear that this is where we're headed for WrestleMania. Nick Aldis coming out to split them up. He's been a busy man so far tonight. Lots of cuts, lots of angry faces, lots of mugging. Cody being whispered down. Of course, Nick Aldis and Cody, they got history. Just want to be clear on that one. So I said it's way too soon yet, but that face-off is built to happen one day where Jey turns on Cody. Just my guess to kickstart Cody Roman main event at Mania. Dom says nope, definitely going to be Cody the winner at the Rumble. I shake my head, Gunter would have been good versus Roman. Joey says I didn't think we'd see GMs back. Believe it, here we are. Megan says Mania next year, Cody versus Roman and Jade versus Charlotte. I still think Charlotte versus Bianca is the play. We'll see. I don't think Jade Cargill's going to be in a championship match at Mania, but I think she'll be in a match. Bayley's probably the right shout, to be honest. Joey says, did Vince not like the GM concept? Yeah, he had plenty GMs. Plenty. James says, what's the point of the GMs when we got Adam Pearce? Storytelling. Nick Aldis isn't there just to be a GM. He's a GM because of something else that he's going to be doing soon. It's just a means to an end. Just a means to an end. It's amazing the feeling you get when Roman's music hits. It doesn't matter what's going on, you just know it's going to be fun. Everything about the Bloodline has just been constant little bits of advancing the story. There's no wasted motion. Everything happens for a reason. It's just a very well told story. Oh, here we go. It's 20-3 and it's just hit me. I've hit me a wall. I'll be fine, I'm just tired. Peter says, where has Nick Aldis wrestled? As I'm not familiar with him. He's wrestled for Ring of Honor, he's wrestled for NWA. If you want to learn about him, check out his match against Cody Rhodes, which I believe was the... Oh, what was it called? The original... The very first show that was AEW. Was it All In? I think it was All In. Back in the day. Rob says, I think they're already doing the slow burn back to Cody and Roman. That stare down certainly suggested so. James says Tony Khan needs his phone taken away from him. You've never seen Vince tweet like that at all. Yeah, because Vince doesn't understand what Twitter is. That's the main reason. Impact also, thank you, Jack. Nick Aldis, of course, is married to Mickie James. So they are a wrestling couple. Wrestling royalty, you might say. No worries, Pete. They're running down the season premiere for Raw. Once again. Rhea Ripley and Shayna Baszler. Bronson Reed and Gunter. It shows what's important on WWE Raw compared to SmackDown. SmackDown's all about the names at the moment. And I think that's a shame. But hey, Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso versus Judgment Day. That should be fun. James says there's no way Charlotte gets another title match. Charlotte already has another title match happening next week. Nick Aldis was just like, yeah, just give it a shot. There's just a lot of different variations of the same people in the women's division at the moment. Sean says they're still behind Gunter dethroning Seth. Seem to be, though Damian Priest seems to be the guy that's actually going to get the belt. Next week, Santos Escobar takes on Montez Ford. You can see This actually reminds me a lot of like 1998 when you just have lots of little factions going to war with each other. Every wrestler would be attached to something and then you just get variations of that something. It feels very build up to Survivor Series, but Survivor Series elimination matches where factions would take on factions. Leon says they're really going to have Charlotte dethrone Io, aren't they? No. I don't see that world. It doesn't make sense to me. LA Knight making his entrance. No John Cena with him. At the same time, it looks like Solo Sikoa doesn't have Roman with him, though. Joey says, who do you think takes KO's spot at Wargames? Probably, if I think about it, KO. I reckon it's still him. Big yeah from the crowd, but not the biggest I've ever done. It's a solid response for LA Knight. I don't think it's a championship contender response. But they've got time to build that. And hey, it's in Saudi Arabia. You won't get a response there anyway. Nobody does. So LA Knight teams with John Cena, and now he's main eventing SmackDown in a build-up to a feud with Roman Reigns. I'm starting to think someone in the back likes this guy. And we are off. There's going to be at least one commercial break in this, so don't get too excited. I think Solo's going to lose here, and I don't want it. Solo Sikoa hasn't been shown to be unbeatable. We also haven't seen a lot of Jimmy, which is unusual for SmackDown. SmackDown's been built around Jimmy Uso for the past few weeks. He seems to be back in the Bloodline now. Roman's just over it. Just over it. Yes, Leon, it's getting a bit colder here in the UK. It's October and it's time for the big panda. I like pandas. James says they've got to have it as a no DQ. Got to have it as a DQ. No way Solo can lose to him. It could be NWO running sort of thing. Jimmy just, you know, wrecks things and then Kevin Owens runs down and then everyone's running down. And before you know it, Wargames. Good reversal into a neck breaker. Bit of pace behind LA Knight, which is not something I really associate with him. High tempo matches are not really his jam. Jack said I think they're all going to come out Roman, Solo and Jimmy against LA Knight, Cody and Jey. That's how it's going to end. Yeah, makes sense. Second stare down. I could get behind it. Solo working for the crowd. That's correct, James. Nope. CM Punk, no chance. I've been very consistent with that one. Knight trying for a slam didn't quite pay off. There is a huge light near the hard cam side and it's really warping the someone needs to turn the light out. Joey says BWE still thinks CM Punk is going to show up. BWE thought the Velveteen Dream was going to return to WWE. BWE was wrong. Yeah, tempo's calmed down a little bit. LA Knight's still getting good reactions from the crowd. His control over the crowd is incredible. He just keeps prompting them and they keep answering him. You got to be top level for that, to be fair. And there's Solo in a good spot. LA Knight down on the outside. We're heading into our last commercial break. Solo Sikoa looks good, but he has taken a bit of a beating so far. Not exactly pushing to the top at the moment. Awkward. 10 minutes left of the show. As an overall show, I do think this has been a good SmackDown. There's a novelty to the return of Roman and everything revolving around him. The Triple H segment with Dominic, Nick Aldis, Kevin Owens was a good segment. Nick Aldis, I don't feel got a particularly good reception, but if they just not had him sit there the entire time, that would have probably helped. I'm not sure where we're going with Kevin Owens. Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits against LWO is repetitive. Just very repetitive. And I don't know, it's not the most exciting for me. I said the women's division continues to be good. Getting Zelina Vega back involved has been handy. Again, paint by numbers. We know what's happening with Charlotte Flair. She's competing for the championship. Anyone else is just there to kill time. So it's been entertaining, but it hasn't really advanced things very much. Cody and Jey versus Austin Theory and Grayson Waller was just sort of there to give them something to do. That's a shame. So I said Solo is working really stiff here. LA Knight has something to say to him a couple of times. I'll have to keep an eye for that. Sean says, surprised we haven't heard anything from that Kermit guy from Reddit. I'm thinking he or she is BWE. Sean, I've said this before. I'll say, I don't know if you've necessarily heard it. Do something for me. Prove to me that BWE and Zero News are different people. No, I don't know if they are. But I also don't know if they're not. So, I have questions. James says Solo sandbag. Solo throws potatoes. Joey says seems like they're setting up Bobby versus Ray for Crown Jewel. I won't be watching that. They seem to be putting the focus back onto Bobby Lashley, whereas it started out on the Street Profits. I'm a little disappointed by that. I just expected them to focus a little more, you know? Just a little more. LA Knight is calling a lot of this. He's speaking to Solo right now. He's not hiding it very well. The commercial break was a rest hold again. Bit disappointed by that. You can tell Randy Orton's coming back. Leon says the women's division is just so dry right now. Yeah, they need a shot in the arm. Honestly, the women's division on Raw is actually better, and that's difficult to say. Jack says LA Knight did the same thing in both Impact and NWA, and after a few months it always died down. After a while, waiting to see if it goes longer than it did for the other two companies. Interesting. I've not talked to many people who have first-hand experience there, so interesting to hear, Jack. Joey says, I thought we were going to see AJ Styles back to set up a match with Roman. Still plenty of time for that to happen, of course. The Royal Rumble might be a better shout at the moment. Crown Jewel seems to be made for LA Knight now. Bruce, do you want me to die? Because clearly you do. James says, LWO is a six-man faction with one woman. I think they've got too many people. Yeah, they probably shouldn't have added Carlito. I think that's where they went wrong. They already don't have enough attention for the tag team, whose names I'm genuinely struggling with, I've got to be honest. And then they add someone else. It's awkward. Moxie says maybe Judgment Day versus Cody's team versus maybe Bloodline versus Sheamus' team because Solo injured in kayfabe. I don't think Sheamus' team would be involved in any way, shape or form. I could see a Judgment Day versus Team Cody versus Bloodline though. That would be quite fun. I think the very first Wargames was 3 teams of 3. It was a lot of fun. You could see that working. Cody, Jey and Sammy. Roman, Jimmy, Solo. Finn, Damian, Dominic. I could definitely see that working. Also, it'd be fun. You know? It'd be fun. Joey says, I like seeing Becky defend the NXT Women's title on Raw. Gets more people involved. Creates a lot more opportunities for the women, to be fair. King Azza says, the look between Cody and Roman is pretty much saying we're getting this match again. And I do think they are. Thank you, Joey. Appreciate that. I'm not always the best at remembering things. I've had a few bumps on the head. What can I say? Bruce, not sure what the question is there, mate. Sean says the Raw Women's division has taken a hit, losing Alexa, Carmella, and Liv. Them being out doesn't give Rhea many challenges. Well, I mean, she has challenges. The fact that they're giving her Raquel again, they've got Shayna Baszler now stepping up. I still honestly would have put Zoe Stark in there. James says they legit have one tag team, 4 solos, and then Zelina. 3 solos, mate. 3 solos. Rey Santos and Carlito. Leon says, I hope Dragon Lee doesn't join the LWO. He's too good to be just another guy in a faction. And while I get what you're saying, what else can they do with him? Like, genuinely, they've called him up. What's he actually going to do? He can't be competing for the United States Championship. Logically, he's just going to feud a Theory. And even then, when you factor in that you've got the Bloodline segment as well, guaranteed. That's always guaranteed. You've got John Cena taking up segments now as well. The women's division, they've got to find something for Kevin Owens now. There's not going to be a lot of room for Dragon Lee. My worry is he goes away Cameron Grimes. There's a lot of heat on the call for Cameron Grimes. He's done nothing since. Sorry guys, bear with me a second. Sorry for the abruptness there, everyone. We are right at the end of SmackDown. I just heard something I wasn't happy with, thought I'd investigate. Turns out we're okay. Bruce says, what are your thoughts on Jade? I think they're pushing her just right. I haven't seen enough of her wrestling yet to really determine how that's going to play. James, I wouldn't necessarily say Bad Bunny's a member of the LWO. I know he's been involved, but he's certainly not there week in, week out. There's certainly a suggestion of turning Santos heel. That's in there. Getting warm now. Put a heat on me. Only a couple of minutes left. So far, nobody interfering. It is just LA Knight and Solo, but LA Knight hasn't been able to really get the head of steam he's looking for. A double clothesline. That suggests impending, Jimmy. You know how it is when both men are down. Here comes Jimmy. Not messing around. He's going to take the DQ. He's just going to attack LA Knight. But here is John Cena. Cena taken down by Solo. I'd still maintain Cena versus Solo. LA Knight hits the finish and gets the 1, 2, 3. Solo Sikoa has indeed lost. Bit overbooked at the end. Could have just given him the clean win, but apparently not. A win over Solo in the main event of SmackDown, though. Very good look for LA Knight. I think a match with Roman Reigns does indeed beckon. Cena sold the Samoan fight pretty good as well. Helps put Solo over, which is kind of important right now. They are pushing LA Knight straight to the top, and I think a lot of fans are going to be very excited about it. James has Solo lost, damn, no way. Well, There's Roman dealing with the LA Knight situation. King, as I said, I know it's happening at Mania, but I'd rather see Cody versus Roman at the Rumble, have The Rock at WrestleMania without the championship. Not going to happen. The Rock is not currently booked to wrestle at WrestleMania. Pete says, great show, Tom. Thank you, Pete. We end SmackDown with LA Knight face down, clutching his stomach. Typically the Roman Reigns way. No Cody, no Jey, and John Cena still down on the outside. Roman dangles the championship over his man. Crown jewel is set. LA Knight will get the shot at Roman Reigns. And that is our show, everyone. I want to start by saying thank you to everyone who has joined me for it and everyone who has joined everyone else for it. We are always a group that watches wrestling together and watches wrestling with friends, because it just SmackDown every now and then, not the most exciting show, but when you can watch it with friends, it always feels like the number one place to be in the world. So big thanks to everyone for keeping me company and for making sure that we continue to have a great time. Until next time, my next video will be out on Sunday. I've been Tom Colohue. You have been fantastic, and I'll see you all very soon.